I've made a few videos recently kind of satirically talking about eBay not being able to make any money and stuff like that, and want to talk about that, making money on eBay, as I'm packing up some items today, and going to talk about the 3 items that sold while I had my store on time away mode these past few days. But before we get into that, my name is Brian and I'm a reseller. I resell on eBay in the everything category. So I sell cookware, clothing, tools, toys, all sorts of stuff. If there's an opportunity to sell it on eBay and make a little money, I'm probably trying to sell those items. So before we get into the items, I've made a handful of short videos recently talking about, not making any money on eBay, eBay's a scam, stuff like that. And some people take that very seriously, and some people are having a hard time making money selling on eBay because of fees and shipping and things like that. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I've definitely had my own times where I'm selling things so cheap that I actually lose money. And I don't blame eBay for that. I blame myself for that because I probably wasn't paying attention to my buy cost as much as I should have, or the sell-through rate as much as I should have. And because it's not selling as fast as I want it to, I'll take an offer or send an offer that's aggressive just to get the item out of the store. And that hurts my profit. And then ultimately choosing your selling price. So making sure you're not just drastically undercutting the market on the item you're selling, that you're selling it for an appropriate price. eBay, to me, can be a game of patience. So if you're desperate for money, you may not have that patience, and you may need to just take whatever offer you can get or send very aggressive offers just to get cash back in hand. I understand why some people may want to do that. I've had my own times when sales were very slow that I'd be much more aggressive on offers than I would have otherwise. So I don't take that lightly, but I think it's important to step back and just kind of look at, your eBay business as a whole. I look at mine all the time to realize, what am I doing with my buy costs? Am I doing the right thing? I've been getting a lot pickier on the stuff that I'm buying. I'm buying a whole lot right now, but I am picky about the stuff that I buy, paying attention to the sell-through rates, the buy costs, how much time I may have to spend to clean stuff up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But there's a lot of factors that I can control in my business to make more profit, to make more money, to not lose money. And ultimately, I'm responsible for that. So I know what eBay's fees are. I know what shipping costs. Almost all of my stuff is plus shipping or plus flat rate shipping. So I do calculated shipping on most of my stuff. So I know what all that stuff is. I go into it knowing what that is. I think that's also an important thing, to go into eBay, go into selling those items, knowing that if you're doing promotions, which I promote every single item that I sell at least 2%, that's eBay's minimum, and I promote up to 5% depending on the item in the category. So you need to go into it knowing what your eBay fees are based on your store level. You need to know, what your promotional rate is, your maximum exposure on promotional rate. You need to know that they're charging you fees on your item, your sales tax, and your shipping to handle all that stuff for you, to buy the shipping and, manage those discounts for us, and then handle all the sales tax information. So personally, I consider that a little bit of a bargain because I don't have to mess with all that stuff. eBay does it. I get a report, take out my cost of goods, file my taxes. I file my taxes on my profit. So I just think it's very important to know that stuff up front. It is very easy to start selling on eBay because you don't have to know all that stuff. You can stumble your way into it and lose money and then get very discouraged. But if you pay attention to that stuff up front, it can really help you out and kind of guide you towards making more money in the long run. I'm gonna get off my soapbox now. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do with their business. I know a lot of people are having a hard time, or at least it seems that way in some of the comments that I'm getting. And I just want to make sure that wouldn't feel good if I didn't pass along that information, just letting people know that there's so much information out there about how to make money on eBay. And that's it for that. Let's get into the 3 items that sold while I was away. This first item is pretty cool. Probably no one else is going to think it's cool. I thought it was cool because I used to do these little projects with my sister and my grandma when I was a kid. I forget what it's not cross stitch, but you take the plastic panels, little, with all the little holes in them, and you just run the yarn through them and you make stuff. And this is a card holder. So it opens up when you take the pencil out of the 3, there's 3 loops. If I can get it open, there we go. So when you open it up, see the loops interlock. You've got a little notepad for a scorecard there. You've got 2 old decks of cards there. So I bought this and the really old pencil with the eraser so hard it'll never work again. What is this? Turvey Packing Company, Blackwell, Oklahoma. But I bought this at an estate sale several months ago. It was actually last year, maybe in October or November. Because I remember one item in particular I bought, somebody bought it off me on Facebook Marketplace as a Christmas present for their wife. That was last year. So I've had this for a year. I was like, you know what? Somebody's going to want this. I don't know when, I don't know who. I didn't comp it. It's 50 cents. I just bought it, put it for sale, sold it for full asking price, $10.88 plus shipping. On this one, the order earnings ended up being $7.42 were my order earnings on this, or my pre-tax profit, sorry. Order earnings were $7.92, pre-tax profit $7.42, which, for a 50-cent item, that's not bad. That's not, it's not a making $20 an item type deal. It's not a huge profit. But all I did, I'm going to put it in a nice little poly bag so the buyer feels good about it. Put a little bubble wrap in here for them. All I did is take a few pictures, put it in my little plastic bins over here, and let it sit for 12 months. And then somebody came in and bought it. So that's an item, it's not a lot of money. I don't mind selling it for $7.92, only making $7.42 on that one. I don't mind that at all. Not everybody's cup of tea or not everybody's business model for sure, but I don't mind. So where's this one going? El Dorado, Texas. Not too far away, just the next state south. That's where I spent the last few days, down in Texas. I say this a lot, but I will have my packing materials listed below. I don't make any money off any of it. It's just in case you want to know what I'm using to pack, it'll be right there for you. All right, we got that one out of the way. The next item that sold is this sweatshirt. I've already boxed it up. It was in a black poly bag. It's a big piece. I'll put a picture of it up here. Pretty substantial. So this is a good example of paying attention to things, being a little bit patient, and then making your money on them. I picked this Dickies skateboarding hoodie up at Goodwill. I paid $7.33 for it, including tax. And then I've been sitting on it, I don't know, about 6 months or so. I have sent some offers. I even, this is another one of those weird deals. I sent an offer for this for $29, and then 5 minutes later, somebody paid full price for it. And it's not been getting tons of action. So not tons of offers sent out, not people sending me offers, not a lot of views. And I scratched my head. I'm like, did they not see the offer and they bought it? Did the sale and the offer cross each other somehow? I don't know. but I know when I sent the offer, it was for one interested buyer, and then they paid full price for it. So I was like, oh, okay. But in any case, this Dickies hoodie, I paid $7.33 for it, sold it for $39.89 plus shipping, $9.99 flat rate shipping, and I paid $7.60 something for shipping. So made a little bit of money there. My pre-tax profit, taking out my cost of goods and everything, was $27.80 on a $7.33 investment. So, you know, I could have just grabbed the hoodie and went, oh, it says Dickies Skateboarding, super cool, and just bought it. But on clothing especially, I'm not doing that anymore. If I see it, I'm comping it, I'm looking at the sell-through rate, and based on the sizes too. You wanna make sure you're paying attention to the sizes. Smalls, like a small men's shirt, sells much slower than a medium or a large or an extra large men's shirt. So just seeing a bunch of larges that sold really fast doesn't mean you should buy a small size. So something to pay attention to whenever you're doing clothing, especially. And any other clothing resellers in the comments or that may see this, if you can back me up on that so I don't sound like a Looney Tune, I would appreciate it. But yeah, that's a real thing. You definitely want to pay attention to. You want to get as specific as you can when you're comping an item to sell it. You know, does it have black handles? Does it have white soles on the shoe? Does it have whatever it has? The size of, you know, the certain model of golf club, whatever it is, not just the brand. You want to get as specific as you can so that you can figure out what your real sell-through rate is on those items. And, you know, if you're really, really trying to make money, I would highly suggest focusing on at least 50% sell-through rate. But if you're new or you're really having a hard time, I may even focus on stuff that has like an 80 to 100% sell-through rate to start with, instead of dropping down to 50, so your money can get back into your hands faster, your profit. And then, you know, you may broaden that as time goes on. You have more available cash. You're okay sitting on things to make the profit long term if it has a lower sell-through rate. But you know, you have to decide that for yourself. Everybody has to decide that for themselves. But it can be a little difficult to figure it out, but you just got to put some work into it. There's a lot of videos talking about that. I'm not an expert at all. I call myself the average reseller, barely. But yeah, I'm not an expert at this. So plenty of people on YouTube talking about how to make money on eBay. So make sure to watch a variety of people. All right, the third item that sold, that produced less profit, by the way, sold for more and produced less profit than that hoodie, was this vintage set of Reselling. This is the stainless steel disc bottom. It has the heavy disc bottom here on it. But there's 3 saucepans, 2 lids, 1 big lid for the stock pot, not in great shape. Oxidized, there's some dents inside the bottom of the stock pot. I like selling cookware. I'm probably going to kind of lay off of it for a while because it is a little bit labor intensive getting it all cleaned up. What I would typically do is get a whole big batch, 20, 30, 40 pieces, where I'd have maybe half a dozen sets, and I save it up, and then I clean it, polish it, everything all at the same time, spending 4 to 6 hours getting all that done, and then listing them and selling them. And then it's been selling pretty fast for me. So can't complain there, but just that extra time and labor, I don't really have that right now. And maybe someday, you know, that'll come back, but I'm probably going to stay away from cookware a little bit. We'll see. Unless it's already super clean. Some things you can find at Goodwill or an estate sale that are just in great shape, and that'd probably be worth reselling. But I paid $15 for this set. It's what I've got into it. I sold it for $50 on an offer. I think I had it at $74.89 or $69.89, something like that. Somebody sent me an offer. Kind of thought that might happen just because of the overall condition. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take their offer. I'm going to get it out of here and reinvest my money. So I did that. Paid $15, sold it for $50. My pre-tax profit after fees and everything, made like, I don't know, $1 on shipping or something, was $26.70 for that item. So I've got a box here. Luckily, I don't need a huge box. So I'm going to get it boxed up real quick. I'm going to do a little bit of shrink wrap to hold these saucepans together inside the stock pot. I do ship my cookware sets FedEx home delivery. It's the best way I found. I haven't shopped UPS or tried UPS yet. I probably should do that, but I've been using FedEx home delivery. When you do that, I'm using calculated dimensional weight shipping. And the way that works is UPS and FedEx both do that. They want you to take the length, the width, and the height. Length times width times height. And you get your total cubic feet. You divide by 166, which is the number of cubic inches in a cubic, I don't know what it is. You divide by 166. And that gives you your dimensional weight. So you want to make sure and round up your box size to the nearest inch up. You want to round up to the nearest pound, round up to the nearest pound whenever you divide by 166. And that gives you your dimensional weight. Now, my dimensional weight on this was 10 pounds for this set. And when I put it on the scale, it actually weighed 7.5 pounds. If on the scale it had weighed 12 pounds, you'd want to use the greater of the two weights. You'd want to have used the 12 pounds and the dimensions, not the dimensional weight. They're going to charge you for whichever one is higher. Of course, they want to make their money. Weird thing though, a couple of weeks ago, I shipped a big rice dispenser all the way up to Oregon. Really cool piece. And the FedEx ended up, make sure this is going to work, because they do this, they sent me a refund on the shipping, not on all of it. They adjusted the price. The shipping that was charged and that I paid was like $105 because it was a big piece that was fairly light. And I used dimensional shipping. I did exactly the formula they suggested, and they came back and said, hey, your billable weight was actually lower. And they gave me like a $65 or $69 refund. It was crazy. I was like, what is happening here? I did not expect that at all, but they gave me a very big refund on that shipment. So it was a very pleasant surprise. But FedEx and USPS will both do that. They will refund you if you have paid too much for the shipping, which is pretty awesome. They'll adjust it. Yeah, I just happened to be in the app and I saw order earnings of, it was 69 bucks, of $69. And I was like, oh, what did I sell? I'm looking around and I can't see anything. And it's like so confused. And then I finally figured out that that's what they did. They refunded adjusted the shipping. And I've actually had them do that. I've had some adjustments the other way too, where they said, hey, you were wrong. And we upped your shipping. And I went back and looked the times they did it, and they're right. I wasn't, it wasn't their mistake, it was my mistake. Unfortunately, whenever they do those adjustments against you, there's usually a fee involved. It's not just the shipping cost. They charge you for having to do it, and it kind of stinks, but that's the game. So, but yeah, they gave me that adjustment. I was super stoked about that because sales were a little soft, and it's like, man, that's pretty awesome to get that 70 bucks back. All right, let's get this finalized here. I like to just over stuff this just a little bit. That's probably a little more. Let's see. If I can get this to close, then we'll be in good shape. Yeah, that'll work. Just to make sure I have plenty of protection, even though cookware is not super fragile. I know a lot of people don't like selling it, but I do, and I do much prefer to sell it, excuse me, in sets. I noticed while I was comping individual pieces about a year ago, a little over a year ago, people were, when I would look for certain pieces, I kept seeing sets that had sold. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try bundling my pieces and selling them in sets. And I tell you what, the sell-through rate on a set versus an individual piece, at least for me, because I had a bunch listed individually, and I try not to list anything individually anymore. I try to list sets. I feel like my sell-through rate personally went up probably about 5x selling in sets versus individual pieces. All right. I do, on every single package I send out, I do put a nice thank you note. I don't say it's not a nice thank you note. I just put thank you for your purchase. This time of year, I'm putting happy holidays. Normally I just put enjoy, but I think it's a nice touch to do that. I like to handwrite mine versus just putting like a sticker or something, but that's just me. So on FedEx, so you have to do it on a separate label because their stuff takes up the whole label, where on my USPS, I write it on the bottom of the label. So I'll just put my thank you note on the box. Ah, crap, that's the wrong one. Like that. Get that on the box. Sorry, it was a little cheesy, but that's the way I roll. All right, let's get that on here. And we will get the shipping label on as well and get it on its way to Keller, Texas. It's kind of out by the DFW Metroplex area, Dallas-Fort Worth. 2 boxes, 2 packages going to Texas. Where'd that other one go? Wisconsin. Lodi, Wisconsin is where that Dickies hoodie went. So yeah, 2 to Texas, 1 to Wisconsin. And let's see how much money we made total. We've got 2, 15, 19, 12, 18, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nope, that's not right. Did I do that wrong? Yeah. 5. There we go. 14. My math was super bad that time, so I put the 1 over there, so it's 13. 21. There we go. $61.92 in pre-tax profit for those 3 orders. I'll take it. Absolutely. That's all I have really for now. I hope you got something beneficial out of this video. If you didn't, roast me in the comments. That's okay. I can take it. But I appreciate you sticking around this long. And something to think about at the end of this video, if you aren't a reseller, you ought to be. It's awesome. Have a great day.